job to go in the wall of hurl and stick in a shinty bowl, the brick, the brack, the crack, and all. Let's call it an Irish pub. Caffrey's hard, Kilkenny, a pub, the Guinness pint, the cabbage crap, the I don't want to be paddy trapped. We'll call it an Irish pub. While I'll be fucked to swear.
Welcome to episode 1 of the Pubcast. My name is Brendan O'Neill, and I would normally be joined by Mike Cross and Michelle Riley. But in these first few episodes, we are revisiting our previous podcast, Boardwalk Breakdown. Basically, we're shutting down the Boardwalk Breakdown podcast and moving those 13 episodes over here so we can keep them alive and well in our archives. So, the Pubcast is our new podcast where we'll talk about all kinds of stuff and not be limited to only talking about Boardwalk Empire. And it will actually begin on episode 14. So just consider these first 13 episodes as bonus content. Sláinte. Welcome to the Boardwalk Breakdown podcast featuring Michelle Riley, Michael Cross, and me, Brendan O'Neill. Basically, we're fans of the HBO show Boardwalk Empire, providing some analysis and silly commentary. If you have any comments or questions, you can contact us on Twitter at Boardwalk Break. Enjoy the show. Season 4.
Now this one I'm going to need a little teeth.
I know, I am too, because
and actually
it's the most recent, but it's got a lot happening. It's a lot going on in season 4.
Boy, you get a lot of Gretchen Mol, Ron Livingston. You get a lot of the Ron Livingston thing. Let's dive right in.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck it.
Dive in.
The Ron Livingston thing. I like the way that arc was going.
I don't like any of it.
I liked the way it was going, and I felt so stupid that I didn't see it coming.
I know.
Yeah.
And then when it happened, I was
like
son of a bitch, how did I not see that coming?
All right.
You knew something wasn't right, but I did not see that it was going to be Junior. Uncle Junior over here taking care of business.
Uncle June. Uncle June. Uncle June.
No, I didn't either. But
no,
you didn't like it?
I didn't like it.
I knew he wasn't.
It didn't go anywhere. I don't care that someone's trying to get sort of information from Jillian. I want like a bigger action. Like I want something to evolve, not just like, all right, got information, we're gonna go prosecute so and so about whatever. It doesn't matter in my very small world.
Well, what I saw in season 4 was that there was a lot of conclusion.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So what they were doing,
a lot of things.
again,
all right.
Jip teed up that calmer season 4. Season 4 is teeing up, let's wrap this shit in a bow and get us all on our way, right? So season 5 is going to be the ending of everything in 5 different categories, but they really set the table for the ending of everything right at the end of season 4. So you had Eli, you had
slow your roll.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing we're not talking about is Narcisse. Right.
Well, yeah, I mean,
you went from Jip, the maniac who owns season 3, to Narcisse, who is a quiet little calculated,
exercising, constraints.
Some combination of Rothstein and Jip into a little package that is the scariest thing in the world.
Yeah,
but I didn't. Here's what I didn't like about Narcisse. I didn't get the character because somebody should have just fucking whacked him.
Michael, you got a point there.
I do kind of get that.
He rolls into town.
Anybody who talked to him for 4 seconds saw this guy's fucking trouble. He has to go away.
Right, and he never got away.
Why was he never taken out?
Yeah, that is interesting that Nucky Wood said this guy's got to go.
Just whack him. What's the difference? If he's the kingpin behind it all, whack him and be done.
Yeah.
I didn't believe the Dr. Narcisse thing, and that's probably why I went right to the Ron Livingston and the and that is because it was a storyline that, and maybe this is why season 4 is like you both said, it's kind of like I got to conjure, I have to pull this up. I loved the season, I enjoyed it, but I think Narcisse was a letdown as the next guy after Jip. Mm-hmm. Maybe if he came before Jip, it would have been better.
Interesting.
Now,
he's creepy.
He's creepy as hell, but he was not.
Get a creepy award.
He was not believable.
That's right.
Oh, he's definitely.
I don't necessarily believe this, but there's a large faction out there that will say that Dr. Narcisse is one of the biggest or best villains in TV history. I've heard that. I've seen that written.
Well, he's
in
pretty
another place.
villainous. I will say that.
You know, I'm not saying I
No,
agree,
I'm not
but
saying you agree.
He's
Yeah.
out there, and it's people love that character. Maybe it's the actor, maybe it's the performance,
Well,
but
the actor's just amazing.
A fantastic actor.
What's his name again? It's
Jeffrey Ross.
Jeffrey Ross.
Yeah.
He is fantastic.
I know him as Alex Leiter in the Bond films
Yes.
because I'm a James Bond fanatic.
Well, he is an amazing actor. Amazing actor. And he is scary as hell in this.
He's not as scary as Jip.
He's
He's
got
scary in a different
In
way.
totally
got
different
that
ways.
rough
in a
I
different
think
way,
makes him
but-
scarier. I mean, Jip is raw, brute,
Calculated,
physical,
like
violent.
intelligent
This guy is a
moves
mindfuck.
is it's scary. He's not. Yeah, he's not as in your face brutal. All right, so we're introduced to Narcisse, and by the way, a real guy. I mean, he was in charge of
Is that right?
Yep. And I'd had to look it up, and I'm not going to
So,
find
but
it.
I mean, he was essentially a showman.
based on a real
producer.
guy, sort of a proponent of what does he call it? What's the? It's not black rights. It's not. It's a. He
Like
pulls out a country, Libya. Doesn't he say Libya?
Libyan.
Yeah, he's Libyan.
Yeah, it's a Libyan sort of a Libyan rights group, for lack of a better term. He's based on a real guy, which I thought was interesting. Obviously, he's sort of enhanced for this series, but he is the yin to Nucky's yang, right?
Yes, for sure.
And he takes advantage of Nucky in a number of ways. One of the things that I don't think we should get into, but it's of note, is that Richard Harrow starts to go connect with his family again.
Yeah, he goes back to Wisconsin.
Right. Which, being in Chicago, we sort of
We understand
that.
Yeah, I mean, you got to go to Wisconsin every now and then
Good for your family.
Everyone's family's in Wisconsin at some point.
to see the Libyans
Right.
and the Nordics.
The other character, I think he might win the creepy award for this season. Most creepy character is the guy who purports to be Prohibition Agent Knox,
Yes.
and is actually
Excellent.
FBI Agent Tolliver.
Yeah.
Great character.
Holy cow, that guy scared the hell out of me.
He was off the chain.
Oh my god!
I really did like him as a character, and he was believable, and he was definitely the manipulation that he had with Eli was incredible in this season, and I really appreciated that storyline way more than I appreciated the Dr. Narcisse thing, which just seemed like it was. It was almost over the top, right?
It was over the top.
The fact that Chalky didn't fucking go in and blow this guy's brains out right out the gate. I just couldn't understand why.
There was something between the two men with the girl, though. That's what it was.
The singer.
That he was in love with her. But you're right.
She was owned by Dr. Narcisse.
Right.
That's what was the whole story behind that.
And you really do kind of crystallize what the problem is that there's a fundamental flaw in terms of why was he allowed to exist.
Right.
Yeah, for as long as he was, without any kind of... I mean, they gave you some background on Dr. Narcisse, but not enough to make it believable that he wouldn't have been a guy who caught 2 bullets in his fucking neck.
These smart gangsters should have seen Narcisse coming. Like after they saw him a couple times, like
why is this guy? Yeah,
and I'm trying to recall. At this point, Nucky had fallen in love with Billy again, and so I'm trying to remember if there was a connection between her being in the show.
Narcisse was like he facilitated the the working of the different singers, different clubs. He was like
he was like a booking agent.
Talent
Yeah,
manager.
talent
Yeah,
guy.
as a producer.
Manager, producer, right.
So he could make things go Nucky's way if he wanted. Otherwise, she'd be booked somewhere else, and he would lose her and lose the money associated with a top.
That still seems pretty thin.
It's thin in that.
It's real
is
thin.
Nucky really going to... Nucky, who's built up this huge empire in Atlantic City, he's going to bank his future on this one singer?
There's a dozen other singers in that area.
Come on.
I mean,
I think that's where I had trouble with it, and why the Dr. Narcisse thing kind of failed me a little
Here's where I lose it, and I lost track of this entire... Maybe not all of it, but most of this relationship or this sidetrack of a plot. When Nucky goes down to Tampa, and he meets up with Arquette's character,
right?
And she like has him wrapped around her finger, and they're trying to bring in booze from Tampa and ship it up to the north, and then Mazzaria's guy, Mazzaria,
right.
and the Italian guy, Luciano, they sneak in heroin or cocaine, or I think it's heroin, into the shipment, and it's a whole thing. I didn't know why they had... Why Tampa? There's any number of ways to get alcohol into Atlantic City besides going down to Tampa.
No, I think they explained that, though, because there was so much trouble with Mazzaria and Rothstein
on the eastern
clogging
seaboard.
up all the other ports.
Yeah, all the eastern seaboard ports.
And so he was coming in from that direction. The other part was the Arquette character was important because this is the first time that Nucky really encountered a woman who really didn't need anything from him. She was her own person. She was playing him as much as he was playing her, and they were sort of free to enjoy themselves. Right?
Yeah.
Not even as equal as much as not dependent on him. You know, he
an escape.
Yeah,
right?
She didn't need him for further her career. She was fine the way she was.
They were an escape for each other from their dismal day-to-day life.
She wasn't trying to get married or get paid. She was just trying
she was
to
running she was running a shitty bar in Tampa in August, and he was running a shitty town where he had no friends, no family, and they kind of commiserated, right? They were
on the list
of
places in the entire
to getting involved in that.
Right.
Yeah, the list of places in the world where I would not want to be in August.
Tampa would be high on the list. Yeah, definitely.
New Orleans is in there. I mean, holy cow.
Yeah,
it's the worst thing ever.
Definitely not pretty. Libya,
Libya, maybe one of those places too.
Libya.
You never know.
I would hate to be a Libyan in Libya. Dr. Narcisse.
Dr. Narcisse.
Okay.
Losing Steve here.
In the middle.
Come on, B.
Middle of the season. Or maybe toward the beginning. Rothstein runs into Margaret at her new job as some sort of a
broker, bank,
whatever.
She's a secretary at a trading firm, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very well played. Yeah.
Seamstress, secretary, whatever. One of them.
It was one of those. It was that point in time where you could imagine a room full of sewing machines and a bunch of women, like working
or typewriters,
17-hour days, right?
So. And it's
Arnold asks her to get him a glass of milk.
Yeah. Oh, and that's a thing that the real guy did. He was.
He was. Yeah.
He was not a drinker.
Not a drinker.
So it's shown that in her new role, that Margaret, even in that role, is part of a shady operation where she helps her boss get over on these clients and take their money and not give them back the proper return.
On investment, yeah.
So that, I mean, stuff like that just makes me think, because she has that moral compass, she's like one of the the least likable character, like, in this series.
Because she's such a hypocrite.
Because she has the right of way, like, right in front of her, and she's always about to take that step, but then steps over here and goes the wrong way.
It's the Scorsese thing of, I'm going to take this character right to the top of the wave,
right?
And instead of having him go over, I'm going to pull him right back down.
Yeah,
right. And it works, and it works so well because, and in a way, you come to accept that about these characters. I think that's the other thing that this builds over 3, 4, or 5 seasons, is that instead of that initial shock of, oh my god, I can't believe this person's going to do this, when you see her in those situations, now you're thinking, where's this bitch going with this?
Yeah.
I also think, too, and I mean, I don't disagree with what you're saying, and again, maybe I'm sensitive to this, but it's easy to have high morals when you're rich. And so, again and again and again, she ends up going in a different direction because she's got no other option.
Well, I think she represents, in any number of instances,
I mean, she left Nucky, for God's sake. She could have shut her mouth and stayed there.
Exactly.
No,
Without
she moved
question.
on.
Well, I don't know if she could have after the Owen.
Wow, she could have done what she needed to do to make that work.
She faces the fork in the road that we all face in the 20s and the 90s and the 2000 whatevers. At any given point, you can go the right path or the left path.
I don't think it's as black and white.
I think it is.
Leaving Nucky and getting herself into Brooklyn was the right path, but now all of a sudden she's in Brooklyn and she's got to feed her kids.
But is that
now that's the right path.
But is that the same? It's the same path. That's what my argument would be, is that she never left that path. She hopped off of it for a few seconds, and then she hopped right back on.
But if her goal was really to stay in that situation, she would have, pardon the pun, ridden Nucky's wave the entire time.
The reasons behind her choices...
She wouldn't have done all this wackadoo stuff and give away his land.
Right.
She's trying to do the right thing, but every time she gets into a situation where she tries to do the right thing, she ends up, like we all do, sucked back into this gray zone of morality, because there are some variables there that you have to
the considerations or the things you may think of when considering a choice, good or bad. She makes the bad choice for the right reasons, almost always.
Always.
And it's easy to be righteous when you don't have to deal with any consequences.
Right. So she has these
and there are
reasons.
limited consequences for her. And she only has things to gain. So it's not like
Many of the characters make the bad choice for the bad reason. She makes the bad choice for the right
reason. Right. So she chooses to go to Brooklyn for the right reasons, to get away from that lifestyle, but then immediately she veers right back on the Rothstein train because...
Well, he backed her into that, but you could make the argument that she did a kind of...
She let herself get backed in.
A questionably ethical job with the trader.
That was a weird thing there.
At the same time, though, again, I would say, as a woman, what was she going to do? Not play along?
Right.
She kind of had no choice in a lot of ways, right?
In a lot of those situations, she had a choice, but the choice was between doing something that was morally questionable and feeding her kids.
Well, here's the block of are these characters really morally bankrupt, or does that Scorsese train just put them in situations where they have no choice but to be morally bankrupt, right?
I think you could apply that to everybody's life at any single time.
Many of them are victims of their circumstances.
Those of us that don't have to face hard choices are usually because we are so blessed with privilege that we don't have to face a hard choice. When you're not lucky enough to have a safety net in your life, things get harder.
All right, so she continues, and then we sort of delve into another sort of subplot of this season that I was not interested in at all.
Eli's son.
I know, and I found that actor. Pardon me, I'm sorry if you're listening, sir, but I found him annoying.
Right.
I mean, he just... I could.
And I'm not sure anyone else would do it better, but the character was. Who cares? Who cares?
But the overriding thing was how do they pull this kid into?
Right.
It's just another example of a person trading on their morality.
Well, and it's a setup for season 5. I think you get a hefty dose of that in season 5.
But everyone is giving up their moral compass for whatever gain. He did it in his thing.
Yeah.
You know?
So
and as he
Eli's
goes
son
further and further into trying to get into Nucky's world, this kid is a liability for everybody connected to him.
And it's because from the outside, the gangster world is attractive.
Right.
I think he falls into that, right? He gets into a problem at school. A kid dies because he steals some alcohol from Mickey Doyle's
Mickey Doyle
pile of
which he trades
booze.
on his name to get.
Right. The Mickey Doyle is classic Mickey Doyle.
Yes.
And then see? He does none of that, but
he's got a little
I want him to do that.
He's gonna.
Yeah.
He's gonna. In my head, he's gonna. Right.
He does not one bit of that, so let's all be clear.
All right.
And then so he gets this alcohol, gives to his friend, bad things happen. The kid dies. Willie, Eli's son, is...
A cover-up ensues to protect the child.
He's obviously involved, but he's trying to cover it up. It doesn't work so well. The authorities are onto him.
Catch wind.
Willie, then, instead of going to Eli, his dad, for help, he goes to Nucky. And that's a huge sticking point with Eli. Like, and it's said in not so many words, don't go to my brother for help, go to me for help. You're my son.
But they set that up for a long time by creating this character of Eli as this angry father.
Fredo.
Yeah. So they teed that up for 2 seasons, right? I mean...
It took...
Plus, he'd been away at jail. Plus, he's alcoholic and he was somewhat violent with the children.
Yeah.
And
it's not great. I expected to pay off at some point, but...
I think we get the payoff on that this season. I think we really see that come full circle.
Season, yeah.
Because I'm losing steam on that whole thing. I don't care so much. All right. Capone is trying to... Capone's brother is killed in a shootout.
Oh, that was actually sad when that happened.
Al Capone is just raging over this, and he's like a maniac all over again. Then one thing happens, and this is historical again because I've researched it separately from this. Is the how Dean O'Banion undercut and set up Johnny Torrio to get taken down by the cops because they both had they both bought into this distillery. It was making illegal alcohol.
Right, yeah. Brilliant.
And
really, the way he ends the season.
Dean O'Banion hooked up with these cops and because he wanted to fuck Johnny Torrio and said, "All right, when you guys show up on Saturday or whatever, what day, what time." Johnny will be there. He owns this distillery. He's doing these bad things. He's selling these. He's making this alcohol and selling it. Go here and do that. I'll be there. Make sure you make sure you take care of me. I'm not part of this situation. He has the name on the lease, whatever. In the meantime, he has Torrio sign up, buy him out, and be the sole owner of this distillery. So by the time the cops come and raid, all the paperwork, everything is in Torrio's name. O'Banion gets out scot-free. Torrio goes down because of the cops. So this sets up this amps up the feud, the battle over Chicago between the Italians and the Irish.
Right.
Which was also, I mean, I hate to backtrack, but the whole thing was spurned by Nucky and the blue blood lineage of the Rockefellers?
I don't know.
Was it the Rockefellers?
I forget.
I can't remember.
Well, I mean, one of the original.
Yeah, one of the original.
American Empire.
Look it up.
Family.
Wikipedia. You'll find it. So I thought that was interesting.
And that was fascinating, that exchange in between, I don't want to have anything... DuPont, perhaps?
I think it was DuPont.
Because that's one of the main themes of Chicago, short of this series, is the battle between the Irish mob and the Italian mob. I mean, it was, up until maybe this moment, it was mostly run by Dean O'Banion and the Northsiders.
Right.
This moment sort of catapulted or elevated the war, and eventually Capone took over for Torrio, and they took over. So I thought that was very interesting. All right, so where are we at? Knox / FBI agent Tolliver, the creepiest guy in this series.
No question.
Who I think needs his own show. He's so ridiculous. Him, Jip, and Narcisse should be over somewhere else. Because they're out of control.
Make it a 10-minute show. I don't know.
So he dupes our good man, Eddie Kessler.
Yes.
Nucky's right-hand man, his manservant.
Poor Eddie.
Into a night of drinking and whatever, befriends him, and then the next day arrests him and tortures him over a couple of days. I don't know, whatever it is. I'm losing track of things in order, but effectively, he eventually, after holding out forever, Kessler turns on Nucky, gives up some bit of information, and then the next day, poor Eddie, a favorite of many people watching the show, jumps out a window and kills himself. That was surprising.
The only honorable dude in the whole show.
Right,
there we go. We found the one.
That's our
I think that's right.
Oh
I
God,
think that's right.
that's
Tell me.
Godfather.
Give me a word.
And
The character from The Godfather.
and the brother comes over.
Come on.
Ah.
We can cut this out.
I was in business. I was in the olive oil business with his father.
I was in the olive oil
business.
business.
Fucking hell.
Bloody fuck. Come on.
I don't know. You know, they want me to say, so I said what I said.
I'm not going to know his name, though. What's his face's dad?
Hold on, I got it. Frank Pantagelli.
Oh,
Pantagelli.
that one, yeah.
I was in the olive oil business with his father, but that was a long time ago.
I don't know if he was so
Frank
worthwhile.
Pantagelli.
They
Pantagelli.
want me to say this. I say this.
I like that guy.
Pantagelli.
All right.
Okay.
Frank
Cut that.
Pantagelli, we're going to say from the Godfather. All right.
Dino Banyan.
What does he say? What is it's later afterwards is when the consigliere comes to him and says, what does he say? He says, we'll take care of your family.
We'll take care of your family,
yeah. Anyway.
The Roman magistrates were just...
That's what he said.
Yeah.
When Tom Hagen's talking to him
Yes,
at the prison, yeah. They just go in the bathroom, draw a bath, and open up their veins. And, yeah, with the cigars. That's good. All right, back to the game here. Oh, my God. All right. So, we come to the point where... this is where we come back to the murder of O'Banion. The Italian mobsters come into Schofield's flower shop, kill O'Banion with the handshake murder, and good old Van Alden is in the background. He had been... His cover name, or the name he took, was Mueller.
Yeah.
Right? And he was selling irons door to door.
German. Irons.
Of course. Why wouldn't he? He's very German.
Yeah. Reeks of it.
That didn't work so well because you don't want Lurch selling you irons at your front door. I don't think that did.
Would you like to buy an iron?
He had a run-in with his boss, whatever.
Hit him with the iron.
Hit him with the iron.
That was actually satisfying when that happened.
That was fantastic.
It's a great moment.
I'm a fan anytime
somebody gets it.
An underling sort of sticks to the man a little bit. That's good. That's good. Anytime that can happen, I'm applauding.
I mean, I've thought about doing stuff like that, but never actually hitting someone in the face with an iron.
No, I've nearly done that, but not quite.
I mean, I just hadn't thought of it until
if I had an iron at the time,
maybe. I mean, things can happen.
So he's looking for a job. He hooks up with O'Banion's crew. He's sort of a gopher. He just does whatever, helping O'Banion in the back of his flower shop. He's there when O'Banion gets killed. He actually takes $1,000 out of O'Banion's wallet after he gets killed.
Yeah.
Then we come back to New Jersey. And Chalky is out to kill Narcisse.
Yes.
Right. I mean, Narcisse really takes center stage on this season.
The back half of this episode is all Narcisse.
Constant progression of his ability to gain favor within the town, to gain favor within the young girl.
But there's no reason for anyone to give him favor. That's That's why I
he's
struggle.
It comes out of nowhere.
He's civilized.
deceptive.
He gives a shit. You know, I mean, nobody's civilized in this world. Why? You know, I mean, is someone who's a smooth talker?
I think he appears to be somewhat exotic.
Is he? But I mean, are people
Libyan?
He's
for God's sake.
He's Libyan. I am Dr. Narcisse.
I speak very deliberately.
Deliberately.
I am Libyan.
I mean, I think this...
I was waiting for something, and I don't feel that we got resolution on this, so it's clearly going to come back.
We're gonna get resolution on that early on in season 5, and we are gonna get resolution on a few things. First of all, and I don't want to get too far ahead here, but the Capone thing is going to be, I think, a huge part of season 5.
It has to.
I mean, it's got to.
I also read that there's a lot of talk about flashbacks in season 5.
I don't like flashbacks.
I would, but there's too much to flash forward.
We need to flash forward.
To Nucky's upbringing.
Oh, okay, maybe. That might play a good role.
If it's 5 minutes...
Think about it, though. Think about it.
5 minutes of each episode I'll tolerate.
I'm going to assume the way they're structuring this series, it's effectively begins and ends in Prohibition. I'm assuming they end in Prohibition, because the first episode is the first night of Prohibition.
Right.
So they got to end
close to the
basically the end of Prohibition. Season 4 begins in 1924, the beginning of 1924. Prohibition, I believe, ends in 1929.
Yeah, 29. It was 10 years, or not quite 10 years.
They've done 4 seasons over 4 years, 5 years. They got to wrap up the whole back end, the whole 5 years in one season. All kinds of stuff has to happen in there.
Maybe, I could see them
flash forward.
Flash forward, but I don't think they have time to flash back.
I kind
There's
of
nowhere to go
there,
but
season 5 may take place in 1928.
Right.
I mean,
and maybe you have to go there.
Yeah, maybe we get...
But if you go that far ahead, do you lose the steam of Narcisse and Chucky?
I keep saying that.
Chalky and Narcisse, their battle, it has to continue into the next year, I would think. You can't take a 3 or 4
I don't think so. I think this might be the end of Chalky.
So,
honestly,
before we flash forward,
disagree.
We will do the forward-looking predictions in a second. So we've got in Chicago. We're back in Chicago. Capone is trying to force Torrio out.
Right.
He's the older gangster. He took I forget the actual year, but he took a sabbatical, effectively, to Italy for the bulk of a year, 1 year, and it changed his whole outlook. When he came back to Chicago, he was not the gangster he was.
No, he was definitely...
He was out. He was older, he was out. He wanted to pass it on to somebody. Capone was that guy. Capone, up until then, was not ready. He was sort of a knucklehead thug.
Yeah.
By the time we catch up with them at the middle to end of season 4, Capone's ready to sort of take over. And he's trying to nudge Torrio out. It effectively happens, cutting to the chase. And there's probably 10,000. There's 10 other ways we can go with this, with Chalky and Narcisse and the singer whose name is Daughter, something or other.
Daughter.
And then
Daughter.
And then Chalky's actual daughter is involved in this, and it's back and forth on who is in charge, who quote unquote owns who, and it's a whole thing.
Well,
back
I
and
mean,
forth.
Chalky's daughter dies, as does daughter.
Chalky's daughter dies by the bullet of who? Richard Harrow.
That's
right. Richard Harrow.
Right. Accidentally. Who is it? I think Nucky had Richard set up as a sniper to take out Narcisse.
Right.
Yes.
In a last-second accidental move, Narcisse moved.
The daughter got in front
Chalky's daughter got in the wrong spot, and Richard actually ends up killing Chalky's daughter.
Right.
God damn it.
It's getting late.
That's the whole thing. So there's a built-in hatred between Chalky and Narcisse, which we think is going to culminate in season 5.
It's got to. It's got
to. There's an attempt on Torrio's life. It fails, and then he hands over the operation to Capone. So Capone's the guy.
We've already established.
Right.
These people are not going to listen to.
I'm trying to get through. Season 4 is so
Season 4, there's a lot going on. The pivotal moment in season 4 is when Harrow goes off the chain.
And he kills everybody.
Everybody, pretty much, in that house.
Right.
In the horror house.
In that killing of everybody in the house, Richard is mortally wounded by one of Narcisse's men.
Right.
And the season ends basically with Richard imagining his reunion with his family in Wisconsin, and he dies underneath the pier underneath
the Atlantic City
Boardwalk. By the way, did you know all that? Like many of their sets and like realistic locations were destroyed by Superstorm Sandy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they lost a lot of that.
Yeah. I mean, they can't film at certain locations anymore because they don't exist.
It's gone, yeah.
Like certain boardwalks are gone. They filmed underneath.
All right. Season 5 preview.
Wait, before we get there.
I think we messed up on 4.
I think we did too, but that's all right.
We can always go back.
You know, anybody who is missing our take on 4, come back.
Come back.
We'll come back at it again.
Maybe we do before we do the start of season 5.
It's too dense.
It starts this weekend.
No, but when we do our first episode, we can kind of like,
maybe.
Hey, let's go back to season 4 and do a quick 5-minute
recap 4. Quickly, we did sort of a creepiest, saddest, best, whatever character of season 1 and 2. Season 3 and 4. Who would you throw as your creepiest or saddest or favorite character?
Creepiest, Narcisse.
I would agree.
Creepiest, okay.
Saddest, unbelievably, for me, would be Jip.
Damn.
Because he's just like such a fucking lost soul. He has no idea what he's doing. It's not that he's just a sad sack of a human being, as I think it was.
Well, he certainly is. I actually would say Chalky. I think that Chalky
meets a lot of problems.
So much going on, and this year, his daughter's getting married. He's conflicted because she's sort of leapfrogging him in class. Her fiance. Then he falls in love with this woman, and he really, really loved her, truly loved her, and that obviously was a disaster. His business is in a shambles. His situation with Nucky is in a shambles. He's, had the KKK out to his place. He's had a number of things that have happened to him. He's basically been pushed out of his own club.
Right.
And he's just a shell of a human being by the end of season 4.
Yeah, he has really gone from being a very powerful guy at this point to being a shell of a man, really.
But I think he's on the come. I think Chalky is on the rise. I think Chalky owns season 5.
Well, I hope so, because I'd like to see how that character works.
Because I think the saddest character in season 3 and 4 is Margaret. I think she's lost. I don't think she knows how to get to where she wants to go, or she may not know where she wants to go. The whole Nucky thing, it's too dark. She can't handle it.
I actually think that there's an argument to be made for Jillian as well.
Yeah.
She goes through this
she was so
shit
bad
show.
in the first 2 episodes.
She's horrible, but she really
seasons.
was taken in by this Ron Livingston character. And
it all just came crashing down on her.
It came so close to her, she really thought for a second there that she was just going to get out of Dodge.
Yeah. She thought it was real. There's no question.
Make it happen.
Right.
And she came darn close.
The wheels came off. Right.
Yeah.
Sorry for the abrupt end to the show, but for the first few episodes where we recap each season, we recorded them all in one sitting and needed to break up the discussion into consumable, bite-sized pieces centered around each season. Thank you for listening to the Boardwalk Breakdown podcast, and follow us on Twitter @BoardwalkBreak. Future episodes of this podcast will focus on a single episode of Boardwalk Empire.